Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, attorney Kim Hegwood with Hegwood Law Group, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning. Welcome to Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. That's me. And so today we have with us is Christian Fitsch-Mouras. Did I say that close enough?
Absolutely. Thank you.
And uh, and so Christian, you have a company called it's the 101 Mobility, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so could you tell our listeners a little bit, just a tiny bit, because I'm going to ask you some more questions later, just a tiny bit about what your business does?
What we do is we really provide people with freedom and independence by helping them live safe and independent in their home, as opposed to having to move out.
And so a lot of people as they age have problems with house layouts, the bathrooms, kitchens, things like that are not really equipped depending on the different disabilities. And so can you tell us a little bit about, more specifically about what your company does in order for people to live in it longer?
What we do, we try to make the whole house accessible and safe for the people who live in it, for all generations. That include multi-generation houses. And it is true that homeowners, the last time they bought the house, they didn't think of maybe aging in it, so they overlooked a lot of things, like I did for my own house when I bought a house.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I bought the house thinking that my grandparents were going to be living with me. But what I didn't snap to was that the doors weren't wide enough for my grandfather's wheelchair. And so, so when you're building houses, thinking about if you're in your future, if you're thinking about that's one of the things that I will not make that mistake on the next one. But it never crossed my mind. And so for people who are, wanting to stay home, be more independent, what types of things do you do in the house to help them do that?
So the first thing is, are we talking about a disability that we already know of and we want to accommodate, or are we planning to age in place, as we put it? So that's a difference.
All right. So let's start with, we're planning to age in place. What kind of things should we be thinking about?
I would say the first thing to think about is accessibility, because from one day to the next, things can change dramatically. And so if you have a staircase to access your bedroom and your master bathroom, of course, it might be an issue. So what you want to know, what is the plan if you don't have, you can't manage the stairs anymore? If you have a straight staircase, it could be fairly cheap to address that. If you have a spiraling staircase, this is going to be extremely expensive. You want to know that.
And so, because I keep thinking my last house is going to be the one that I'm going to live in forever. And so when you're thinking about, buying that house, I know the first thing that came to mind, the doorways weren't wide enough. So if you're thinking about moving into that forever home and you're thinking your parents or grandparents are going to be part of that living arrangements, what do people look for, or what should they be looking for in the home at that time?
I think the first thing is, of course, access to the room that they need to access to, which is obviously the master bedroom and the master bathroom. It's better if it is on the first floor, clearly. If it is on the second floor, again, no big deal. But what is the plan to access the second floor if you cannot manage the stairs? And there are things that some are fairly affordable. Then in the bathroom, the next thing is accessibility of the shower and the maybe the tub, and that can be fairly expensive. And at least you want to know if the layout of the bathroom will allow you to modify the shower to make it much more accessible fairly easily or not, or what would be roughly the cost. So at least before buying a house, you want to know roughly how much it will cost to modify that bathroom or to install that lift that you will need if you can't access those things anymore.
Yeah, one of the things that, like the front bathroom that my grandparents were living with me, just had a shower in it, because I know, you don't put people don't take baths, or you don't want to put them in a bath if they have difficulty getting in and out of a bathtub. But it wasn't as big as my shower in the master bedroom. And in the master bath, we also put a seat in there specifically to make sure that if I needed to get him in there and sitting down, he had a place to sit. It works great now for all the shampoos and hair products and stuff in the shower. But, it was amazing that I knew some things, but I didn't know a lot of things. And so do y'all have some things, like a list of things that you provide people when they're thinking about it or thinking about modifying homes of, these are the list of things you need to be looking for? Or is it more of, hey, we need to call Christian and have him come do an evaluation? How does the process work?
So typically, we offer evaluations, indeed, either in the prospect of buying a house or in the prospect of modifying a house to make it accessible. I would say when it comes to the shower, the first thing you want to look at, keep in mind that the vast majority of the tubs are not being used, or they are being used as showers, okay? So definitely you want a shower, and you want this shower to be easily accessible. The issue is to make a shower that is wheelchair accessible, and this is a trick. To make it, you can do it very nicely. It's called universal design. It doesn't look like a rehab center. It doesn't look like a handicap shower. It's just a very comfortable shower for everyone. Everyone enjoys a shower like that. It can be beautiful as well. The thing is, not everybody knows how to do that. A lot of contractors won't tell you, no, that cannot be done. The water will run out. At least they're being honest. Some contractors say, yeah, I think I can do that. Next thing you know, the water runs in the bedroom. So definitely you want to have professionals doing that. It's very efficient. It works very well. And what you want to know is how much it will cost to do that, because depending on the current configuration of the bathroom, it is easily feasible or not. Okay. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, because I keep thinking about how my bathroom looks, and I know the bathrooms, are a really big issue when it comes to, to aging in place, of being able to maneuver. And I just keep thinking the layout of my bedroom and the bathroom would make it, even though the shower was bigger, it's still difficult to maneuver how the layout of the house is to get you, because you got to take a sharp turn, you got to take another turn to get into the bathroom. That's not easy to do, in a wheelchair. And so it's amazing how you don't think about things. And so, but I'm glad I'm thinking about them now, because I think that's going to be important for me building the next house, of having a better, smoother layout so it makes it easier, not a lot of turns, to get into certain rooms. And so that's that's very enlightening. And so I know there's a difference between, mobility and accessibility. Can you talk a little bit about, so for the listeners that are, listening to this today, on what those differences are and how you address those?
Sure. The mobility is really about the person and her or his ability to move and go places without assistance, whereas the accessibility is about the places and the possibility to get to it. So the word places here can be in a region, a neighborhood, a building, a room, or even a tub.
And so when you're thinking about doing all these things, is there a age requirement? How early should people be thinking about, aging in place? Do you find that it happens early on, or do you find it happens more in a crisis type planning, when people are like, oh gosh, we got to move the parents in or the grandparents in?
Unfortunately, the vast majority of the case, it's looks to me when I'm called, it's a crisis. Okay, things have happened, something has happened, and from the day to the next, everything has changed, and now we are asking the questions. That lack of planning. So I would say this is definitely something you need to think of before even having the need for those modifications. Meaning, as soon as you start thinking that this might be your last house, I think this is time to ask the question and prepare. Whether you're in your 50s or your 60s, it doesn't really matter. But you want to know if it is a good plan or not, or if it would be better maybe just plan on moving out at some point.
I know the last house that my grandparents had, the doors were already wide. It didn't seem there wasn't an issue. It was an older home built, I think back in the 60s or 70s. They moved in it into the early 90s. So the doors were already wider then. Do you find that construction is more of a problem today in regards to accessibility and mobility in the houses and things like that?
No, it's pretty much, I would say, yes and no. When it comes to the doors, it's pretty much the same. Of course, older houses have narrow doors, but even today, so often I'm called to brand new houses, and the door to the bathroom is still a 24-inch door. It's current, or pocket doors. It just doesn't work. Okay, so this is very current. But there is another issue that came up, especially in Houston with the flood plan, is the fact that houses are being built very high now above the ground and above the garage floor, and or even elevated. And now you have like 10 or more steps to the house, and this become a problem very quickly. And not only for someone who have mobility issues, but just think of a mother with his toddlers and all the strollers and the grocery store every day. It is a problem. So, but let alone when you have an older, a senior in the house that cannot handle all those steps or manage those steps.
Yeah, my in-laws took care of my ex-husband's mom, and at that time they had to put the ramp in so they could get her in and out of the house because the house set up so like it had like 2 stairs that went down, but you can't get somebody out of wheelchair and stairs. And so they built the ramp a long time ago, and then everybody ended up using it. I used it when the kids were little. We used it, as they got older, going in and out of the house, so do y'all do a lot of ramps and things like that to help people facilitate getting in and out?
Yes, we do. We do ramps, of course, but most of the ramps we do are really threshold ramps to handle the threshold to the front door, or things like that. Because the issue in Houston, the way they build the house now is not just with just a couple of steps. It's more than that. And when you think that we go by the ADA guideline, which is about a foot of travel distance for every inch of rise. Now, if you have 3 foot of, if the house is only 3 foot above ground, now you will need like 36 foot of ramp. Wow. There is no room for that. Yeah, that's a lot. So that when you really need a lift at some point. So
okay. And so are lifts, I've seen the lifts that go up the stairs, and so that can, basically you sit in it and takes you up the stairs. I always thought that'd be really cool to play in. And but do you find that there's more ramps like for front doors and things like that where you can't get that long of a ramp to get somebody in?
Yes, no, outside usually we do install a little bit of stair lifts. You were talking about stair lifts. Usually stair lifts are more an indoor solution, but yes, we do install stair lift outdoor. But most of the time we go with what we call a vertical platform lift or wheelchair lift, also called porch lift, that can be installed outdoor, outside, or even in the garage very often to access the main floor of the house from the garage. So, and that is very, that's a small footprint. It's about 4 by 5 foot footprint.
So that's something you would just drive a wheelchair on and it lifts up, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
good. All right. That's why I thought that's what it was. I just wanted to make sure. And so, besides the bathroom and getting into, getting in and out of the house, what other types of places in the house do you find that adjustments need to be made?
Well, it's every time you have a change in level of the floor, so that all the threshold that from the garage to the house, from the front door to the house, inside the house, every time you have a different level, of course, between floors, but also we pay attention to the threshold between the rooms. When you change floorings, the rugs can become an issue for someone who shuffle a little bit, things like that. We quickly go to the bathroom because this is a very the primary area of risks because it can be slippery, because it's a place where we often are naked or half naked, so vulnerable. And also this is a place we tend to access at night with very little light, and that way a problem. And at the time we don't have our full balance, so that where accident happen. Next, of course, you can think of the kitchen, but it's not so much, not as an issue as the bathroom can be. But yes, you can always make a modification to the kitchen, not so much for a safety standpoint, but more to include a senior in the daily life of the family for a multi-generational home, so that they can stay in the kitchen to help prepare the meal while sitting at a countertop that is a little bit lower for them, things like that.
Well, that's good. I wasn't thinking about the table because I have a very high table right now. And so I didn't when my grandparents were alive, but I did when I transitioned, went for a higher one so I could see over the couch.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have a high table in my home as well. I love that. But we are all able-bodied and tall, so that's good. That's great. But indeed, I know that when my mom visits us, it's a little hard for her to just get on the chair.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And so where does someone find, the services and the equipment that's needed to do the things to help take care of, being able to stay at home longer?
Well, there are several companies like ours that do implement solutions. And I would say solutions, it's in everything from a grab bar in the bathroom to an elevator, including bathroom remodeling, any type of lift, ramp, name it. The thing is, you want to deal with people who have some knowledge, and they are not there to just sell you stuff. They are there to help you plan. They are there to help you find the right solution for your issue, because very often you will hear the word ADA. ADA does not apply a residential context. ADA is for public access. It's a non-discrimination thing. It's okay to discriminate in your own home. You want your home to fit your needs only. Okay, so that's what we do. We have. I do have some specific certifications that help me assess the need of the homeowner or the person with a potential disability, and to offer a solution that really will change their life, meet their need, and make them safe and independent in their own home.
You mentioned that you have some specific certifications. Can you tell the listeners what those are?
There is one that is fairly easy to find. Quite a few people have this one. It's earned through the National Association of Home Builders. It's called CAPS, for Certified Aging in Place Specialist. That what we are. And we have another one that goes CHAMP, for Certified Home Assessment Modification Assessment and Modification Professional. This one is more, this is a certification we have to work for workers' comp, so it's more for people who have been injured at work. It's a lot of SCIs and TBIs, things like that. So.
And so how does someone distinguish between someone like yourself and then a regular contractor that says, yes, I can make all the changes?
So, first of all, you can ask if they have some of those certifications. And especially when it comes to contractor, you can have at least if they have the CAPS certification. I would be very cautious to ask a contractor that do not have any kind of specialty here to modify my bathroom. And to try to make a threshold-free or a roll-in shower. This does require some knowledge and experience to do it. Okay, so for instance, we only work with people who know how to do that properly. We don't take a chance here.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. When you're looking for something that's going to potentially be life-threatening, you definitely want someone who knows what they're doing, and so.
It's not only life-threatening, you can just damage the house. I mean, if the water runs into the bedroom, it's not good at all. And also you may want to think of resale value of the home. Maybe not if it is your own home. I mean, maybe not if it is, but especially if you taking your parents or your in-laws in your home, you're still plan maybe on selling that home sometime. Now, if people are doing that for their own home, the seniors is a homeowner. He may not care that much about the resale value, but you want to do things properly, I think.
Perfect. And Christian, if someone is looking for to find you and to do some modifications, evaluations of their homes, how do they do that?
They can just call us. Should I give my, here we go. Absolutely, they can just call us. They can also email us. We'll be more than happy. We can also do some virtual consultation, especially in those days with the pandemic. I understand people are very, very cautious, and we are very cautious. I mean, when we come to a house, we have the mask, we have everything. We're very, very cautious. I think we also owe that to our customers. So we are okay to work with videos, Zoom, FaceTime, whatever, to help at least give some ideas and things like that.
Perfect. And so, perfect. Well, I know a lot of people want to stay at home, and making it easy for them to do sometimes makes all the difference in the world. And I find that a lot of clients, sometimes it's just the small things that can enable them to stay at home a whole lot longer. And people seem to be more happier staying at home. So I just want to thank you for being on the show today, and I appreciate it immensely. It's always good to have information for our listeners so that they know where to go, what to do, and hopefully make some better choices. And it definitely makes me think about how my shower is going to look a little different. I knew it was going to be larger the next go around, and so because all I keep thinking in my head was spraying all different directions, because that just seemed like a really cool shower to have. And, but definitely making sure that that while it looks pleasing, it can use a dual purpose as well. So, so that's really, really good information. And I just want to thank you so much, and I've enjoyed having you on the show today.
Thank you for having me on the show, and I hope to see you pretty soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, hon.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.